K9 dog saved a girl's life, but what he sensed no human could explain. The wind howled through the narrow alleyways of Cedarbrook, a sleepy town tucked away in upstate New York, as Officer Jake Landon adjusted his grip on the leash. At the other end, Rex, a seasoned German Shepherd K9, stood alert, his ears pricked, nostrils flaring. The streets had long since quieted down after the autumn festival, but something in the air tonight felt different. Jake couldn't put his finger on it, but Rex's sudden tension confirmed it. Something was about to happen. Rex had been on the force for 6 years, credited with numerous rescues and drug busts. But more than that, he had an uncanny intuition, something that surpassed even the best-trained dogs. "What is it, buddy?" Jake asked, following the dog's gaze toward the abandoned textile mill at the edge of town. Without warning, Rex bolted forward, leash taut, dragging Jake into the unknown. At the same moment, on the other side of the mill, 12-year-old Emma Callahan sat shivering beneath a pile of wet leaves. Her bicycle lay broken beside the ditch where she'd crashed hours earlier, her leg twisted at a sickening angle. She had screamed until her voice gave out, and then, in the growing darkness, she wept quietly, clutching the locket her father gave her before he left for deployment overseas. She wasn't supposed to be there. She had ridden into the woods after a fight with her mother, one of those loud, door-slamming, heart-heavy fights about nothing and everything. But now, Emma was alone. The temperature was dropping, and hope was starting to slip through her fingers like the falling leaves around her. Back at the mill, Rex stopped abruptly. He sniffed the air, then barked, sharp, commanding. "You smell something?" Jake asked. But Rex wasn't focused on scent now, he was staring, fixated on a seemingly empty space beyond the trees. His muscles quivered, but his gaze softened, as if seeing something, someone. Jake followed the dog's lead into the overgrown brush. The moment stretched into something surreal. The forest seemed to hush, the rustling leaves and chirping insects falling silent. Then Rex took off again, this time with precision, weaving through trees with a purpose no training had ever taught him. 5 minutes later, Jake heard it, a faint whimper. They found Emma half-conscious, her body trembling, lips blue, and cheeks tear-streaked. She opened her eyes just long enough to whisper, "Help me," before slipping into unconsciousness. Jake radioed for an ambulance while Rex lay beside the girl, his body curled protectively around her. And then something strange happened. Rex let out a low, mournful whine and pressed his snout gently against her heart, as if reassuring her soul as much as her body. At the hospital, doctors confirmed the worst. Emma's injuries were serious, and if she'd remained out there just 30 minutes longer, she might not have survived. "It's a miracle she was found in time," one of the nurses said. But Jake shook his head. It wasn't a miracle. It was Rex. Emma awoke 2 days later. The first thing she asked for was her locket. The second was the dog who saved her. As weeks passed, Emma recovered steadily. The town buzzed with the story. Local news outlets dubbed Rex a hero. Children waved at him in parades, families brought treats to the station. Yet, amid the celebration, something gnawed at Jake. He couldn't forget the moment in the woods, the way Rex stared at that empty space like it was filled with something only he could see. Jake revisited the mill several times, retracing their steps. There was no logical reason for Rex to turn that way, no scent trail, no cry for help audible to the human ear. It was as if he had followed something beyond physical perception, like he had been led. One evening, Jake sat beside Rex at the edge of a field, the sun setting behind the hills. "What did you sense that night?" he asked softly, rubbing the dog's ears. Rex didn't respond, of course, but his eyes met Jake's with a depth that made him wonder if maybe, just maybe, there were things in this world science couldn't explain. Then came the visit that changed everything. Emma's mother, Claire Callahan, showed up at the station a month after the incident, holding a faded photograph. "I wanted to thank Rex," she said, her eyes red but warm. "And I wanted to show you something." She handed Jake the photo. It was of a man in uniform, a military dog handler, smiling as he posed with his K9. "That's my husband, James," she said. "He died 2 years ago in Afghanistan during a rescue mission. His dog, Thor, was injured in the blast but survived. The unit said Thor stood by him till the very end." Jake looked closely. The dog in the photo, Thor, looked nearly identical to Rex. Claire continued, "When Emma was little, James used to say, 'If anything ever happens to me, I'll find a way to protect you. Even if I'm not here.' I used to dismiss it as sweet talk. But that night, she told me something I can't explain." Jake leaned forward. "She said, before you and Rex found her, she saw Daddy in the woods. He knelt beside her and told her to hold on, that help was coming. She said she felt something warm wrap around her, a kind of comfort, like being hugged without arms." Jake sat back, heart pounding. "You're saying—" "I don't know what I'm saying," Claire said with a shaky smile. "But I believe her. And I believe Rex sensed something we couldn't. Maybe James never really left." The room was silent for a long time. Then Rex walked over, rested his head on Claire's knee, and closed his eyes. Word spread quickly, and the story took on a life of its own. People began writing letters, not just about Rex's heroism, but about their own experiences. Moments they couldn't explain, times they felt guided by something unseen. One veteran wrote, "Sometimes, the bond between soldier and dog transcends even death." Another, a mother, said, "After losing my son, our old family dog wouldn't leave his room for weeks. I thought it was grief. Maybe it was more." Emma eventually returned to school, stronger than ever. She would visit the station every Friday to see Rex, bringing treats and reading him stories. "He listens better than most people," she'd joke. Jake never did figure out exactly what Rex sensed that night. But he stopped trying to explain it. Sometimes, the most powerful truths live in the spaces between logic and faith. And as for Rex, he kept doing his job, saving lives, comforting those in pain, and showing the world that love, whether from a man, a dog or something greater, never really dies. In a small frame on Jake's desk, alongside his badge and commendations, he kept the photo Claire had given him. Not just to remember a story that moved a town, but to remind himself, and everyone who saw it, of something far more enduring. Heroes come in many forms. Some wear uniforms. Some have fur. And some, we feel more than we understand. Because sometimes, it's not about what we see or hear, it's about what we feel, and believe.